We are season 3. Hey, my Oak Island surf fishing friends, how are you doing? What a great day. Yeah, it's beautiful out. No, it's a great day because, spoiler alert. Oh, she's a giraffe. I don't even know what that's about. Hello, my Oak Island surf fishing friends. I've been waiting for this for over a month. It's been so cold. I'm going to jump right to it. Spoiler alert, I've got a bucket full of puffer and whiting right now. We finally hit it. It's finally warmed up enough that the whiting have come in and the puffer have come in. So this video is going to be, this is our third season, season 3 of Sands in the Surf. And we are hitting 1,000 subscribers, which is really cool. So thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing it, where I'm putting the bait, what I'm using. And this is going to be a great season. I got some new tricks and some toys and stuff up my sleeve we're going to be talking about. So hey, come on, let's go. Let's go fishing. If I was going to tell this story correctly, I'm going to have to back it up a couple of weeks. About the middle of February, I decided let's go try to catch some fish in the surf. Even though I knew the water temperature was in the 50s, I went to Lowe's and I told the guy behind the counter, can I just have a handful of shrimp? And he was like, you're going to go fishing, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, how'd you know? He's like, sometimes you can just tell. So I thought, let me get the freshest shrimp possible. And so I went out there and there wasn't much biting. I did this for a couple of days. And then finally I got one and I got so excited because I thought, oh, I finally got maybe a decent whiting or something because it was tugging good. But I think in my heart I knew what it was, and it was a ray. So this went on for more than a week because I caught this one, and here's my catch and release technique. I just grab him by the little spike there and I let him go. But I went out fishing another day, probably later that week, and again, nothing bit all day long, fresh shrimp again, and I got so excited. I was like, yes, I finally got a big fish, and I'm reeling them in, and then I was like, no, what a disappointment, another one. Another ray. Now you can eat these things, but these were both really small. Probably wasn't much meat on those wings, so I wasn't going to mess with them. I'm just like, I'll take him and release him back into the water. So again, grab him by the barb. I don't know if that's the best way to do it or not, but just let them go. And they're really cool to watch. I mean, look how clear the water is. It's how much fresh water it rained for the last 2 weeks of February. That's all it did. So I'm surprised it's not just pure fresh water. There's no salt in it. So at this point, I'm like, I know I got to give up till the water temperature starts to warm up. So we did the next best thing. We decided to go to the gun range. So I was like, Kim, show us your arsenal. What kind of guns do you have? And she's like, I have these right here. Like, she doesn't want to play on the video. So I'm like, all right. But we brought our friends, Steve and Julie. She's like, get around on the other side before you get shot. And they had never shot a gun. Well, I don't know about Steve, but Julie had never shot a gun before, and this was on her bucket list. So we started off small. This is just a 22 revolver. It's called a Rough Rider, and it's a nice little plinking gun. And I like revolvers because they never jam. They always fire no matter what. So we let Steve and Julie take shots with that. We had some targets set up and just having some fun. And Kim's got a little pink mosquito as well, so we brought that. That's also a 22, 6-auer, 22 pistol. Which does jam every once in a while. So that's what I don't like about it, but we were doing okay. And even I got a chance to shoot my own gun. So we had fun down at the range. This is the Ye Old Gun Club, which is located not too far from St. James on 211 where Generations Church is. So if you know the area at all, you'd know it's back behind Generations Church. And pretty far back. But anyway, we got up there and Julie did really well. And then Kim's looking over her target and she's like, I got that one and I got that one. So she was pretty happy with herself. So we had a good time, but it was time for me to get back. I needed to get back out there. So I went back out, and this is about the last week of February, probably the only clear day where it didn't rain, and I actually caught a fish. I actually caught a whiting, which I dropped, because I always drop whiting because they're really slippery. Not only did I drop it once, but when I was trying to show it to the camera, I dropped it a second time, which I picked up, and then of course I dropped a third time because whiting are slippery. If you watch any of my these videos, I always drop them. I think I dropped it so much that I think I actually stunned it, so it didn't want to swim away, and I was like, I'm not feeding this one to the crabs. Even though he wasn't really big, I'm like, let me clean him up. So I took him home, cleaned him up, and I just want to show you this tool right here. A lot of times you don't need to to scale the fish, but this is a scaler, and it's got these little not even sharp, they're just little rough little indents like a saw, and if you just rub it, look, the scales come right off. Now a lot of times you can fillet a fish without scaling it, but sometimes I'll just clean the fish, cut off the head, take out the guts, and scale it and throw it in my refrigerator because I'm not sure what I want to do with it. But then I found this website. It's called Yummly, YUMMY.com, Yummly.com, and it's so cool because you can put in a type of fish and then it'll come up with hundreds of recipes. And I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen, because I only know like 2 recipes. I either fry the fill 3, I either fry it, I put it on the grill, or I make fish tacos. But this had this really cool croaker recipe. Like, I typed in croaker and it came up with it, and you can just read the instructions. So I'm like, I'm going to make this croaker soup. This looks fantastic. So I decided to do it, and I'm going to show you right here the croaker soup recipe because it's so unbelievably good. Simple ingredients: garlic, some chives of green onions. This is, I didn't have any bread, so I was using English muffins, and some diced tomato, and of course some salt, pepper, and one other secret ingredient, and olive oil, and of course the fish. So what you do is pretty simple. You cut up the fish. Now I got this new knife, which is from Toadfish, and I really like this knife because, number one, it's super sharp because it's brand new. It's nice and thin. It cuts great, but it's got a great weight. It's like heavy. It's not a cheap, like, little stinky fillet knife. It's a really quality knife, great weight, and it cut the fish really great. So what I did with this fish is I took out the, I guess the red bones, if you would, a couple of the bones here in the ribs. I filleted it, obviously, and I skinned it as well, and then I just cut it up into like chunks, little chunks, like fish bites, if you will, and that's going to be going into my soup. Now, while I did that, I cut that up. I got another knife, and I minced the garlic. So I got a couple cloves of garlic here, and I'm just doing a great job. It doesn't even look like I'm cutting it. Am I getting through to it? But I did. I was getting through. And then I just take the knife and I just do the old, I've watched a couple of Rachel Ray videos, I guess, and kind of just like chunk, 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 and get in there and just mince it up really good. Right there, chunk, 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 chunk. That's like the funnest part right there. So I minced the garlic, and then I cut the green onion as well, scallions, whatever you want to call them, and I just cut them into little pieces. Now, after I got that all cut, everything's ready to go, I got a frying pan, and I just put water in it, and I put it on the stove, and I just got the water to boil, and once the water was boiling, I just poured my little fish flake chunks into the boiling water. I'm just going to cook it up like that, totally cook it up in the boiling water, which for me is very unique. I hadn't done that before, but here's the secret. Magic ingredients. The blackened redfish, oh my gosh, this is so good. I think this is what made the whole meal. You definitely need to get that if you don't have it. Get that magic redfish. Oh my gosh, so good. So I let that boil, and then I took it out, and then using the same frying pan, I put some olive oil in there, and I just put the garlic cloves in there. There's the olive oil. And I put the green onion in there, and I just sauteed that up. And once those were fragrant, just a minute or two, I put in my can of tomatoes. Now, I just didn't have any fresh tomatoes. That's why I used this. But I think this would be even better with some fresh tomatoes. And I just let that all simmer together and just kind of, get marinated or whatever you call it. I don't know. I'm not Rachel Ray, but I was going to tell you it was so good. So I put my English muffins, which I toasted, by the way. I put them in the bottom there. And I just poured this soup mixture on top. Now, I have the fish sitting in a separate bowl at this point. I had taken out of the frying pan. So I just went and I got it, and I just sprinkled it on top of that right there like that. I'm going to tell you, my wife was like, oh my God, this is so good. This is restaurant quality. She's like, if I got this in a restaurant, I would not be disappointed. So I'm going to tell you to make this soup. Check out Yummly. They're not my sponsor, but I'm just telling you, it's fun to try different recipes, and Yummly's a great way to do it. So that was fantastic. Now, this brings us to this week, and this would be last Wednesday. And I was on the beach fishing last Wednesday, and I could see the rod. There was something nibbling on it. I knew it. I just kept holding it. I kept feeling for it, and then I was like, no, there's nothing there. I'm not going to catch a fish. The water's not warm. It's just not warm enough. You want to get it up to like 60 degrees, and I don't know where it was at, 57 or something. It was so close. And then all of a sudden, I just picked it up. I'm like, let me just reel this thing in. Something doesn't seem right. And I reeled it in. And there it was, my friends, the first puffer of the season. And how excited was I to have this puffer on the line and not have another skate or a stingray, just have a puffer on there. So I got him up there. Now, this guy was kind of small. He's the only one I caught, and I knew I wasn't going to catch any more because it was right at the end of the day, and I was going to be going home in a few minutes. So I actually showed him in the camera here, but I let him go. I took him back, and I just dropped him in the water. which is a hard thing to do because puffer is one of my favorite fish. Not a really big fighting fish, not the best fish to fish for, but because I didn't even know he was on the hook, to be honest with you, but I let him go. And then I went home, and then I got up today, Saturday, March 13th. Not a beautiful day, low tide. Tide just starting to come up. It was low tide, and I went down there and I had some fresh shrimp again, cast it out, and I got what I was looking for right away. Like first cast, I was like, yes, I got a puffer. Now I'm like, I'm keeping this one because I can get a few more. I got a little bit more time. All it was fresh shrimp that I got at the Oak Island Sporting Goods shop right here in the island. Just cut up little pieces. I'll show you that in a minute. And I got the puffer. And then right after that, I caught a whiting. Now this is fun. This guy wasn't very big, so I'm surprised I haven't dropped him. Oh, there you go. I did drop him. So I decided to let him go. Now I'm holding him right here. I'm getting him off the hook, and I'm watching my other rod, and I'm seeing it. Now look at it right there. Bam, bam. Look at it. You might have to rewind it. I threw that fish right in the water right there, and I went and I grabbed that rod, and I started reeling it in, and I was excited because this was, I mean, I saw that rod bend. You know, the puffer don't make it bend. That little whiting didn't make it bend, but this time it bent. So I'm like, this is going to be a nice fish. So I pulled him up, and it was a nice fish. It was a whiting, and what a fatty this guy was. I was real happy. I was like, I'm not throwing him back. He's going to be some more croaker soup. So look at this guy right here. Not a bad looking little whiting. Nice little fat whiting. I'm going to hold on to him as best I can. And I got out the measuring stick, and I could see he was clearly a foot. You know, that's I'll turn the rule over so you can see in a minute. It worked for me. There you go. So that's a foot. That's 12 inches on that side. So I'm like, yeah, he's probably bigger than 12 inches. So here's where I'm fishing. You see the waves? I'm fishing right in front of where those waves are crashing over. Originally, I was fishing beyond them, and I wasn't catching anything. So I started fishing closer, and that's where they were. I will say it was a little window of opportunity. I had gotten down there, and I caught some, and I kind of filled my bucket with the whiting and puffer I'm going to show here, and then it just died out, and everything just stopped. So there was a little window of opportunity. I just think I was in the right spot, the right time. This was around 40th Street, and by the way, if you're curious, on Oak Island, 40th East. And here's another one. This is my second. Oh, this is my other puffer. Now look at this puffer. This is a granddaddy puffer. Look at this thing. I think that could be a citation puffer. Do they give you citations for a puffer? Because look at that. I'm like, whoa, he's like 9 inches. He's this ginormous puffer. So I'm like, I'm keeping him because, like I said, puffer's my favorite. Now, I want to show you the rig I'm using now. I made this rig. The other rig was store-bought, but I made this rig myself, and it's just a double drop rig, but I did something a little different that I learned, and that was when I was making this part of the rig, I twisted it like that before I tied it in, and that made the lines twisted there, and it makes it stand out. Look at how nice that is. Maybe I'll put a link to the video where I learned how to do that right above. So if you go up and you click on that link, it's not mine, it's somebody else's, but it showed me how to do that. I got my fresh shrimp, and I think this is why I was having some success. Now, I use little pieces of shrimp, and I try to get the shrimp to just curve like the hook does, and I just curve it right around the hook, and then I just wait for the tip of that to come out on the other side. And that's basically all I do. Some people ask, do I take the shell off? I mean, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I don't know. I haven't lately. I didn't in this video. And other people say, do you salt your shrimp? I had a conversation with a friend this week about that. And sometimes I do. In the summer, I tend to do it more than I do in the winter. Because I just feel like the shrimp gets more mushy in the summer, especially if you buy frozen shrimp and then you just have it sitting out. I'll salt it the day after it's defrosted, so I'll salt it. So here's another whiting, another one for the bucket. This one is not as fat as the other one, but about as long, another footer. So I'll keep him. I usually keep a whiting if it's over 12 inches. Sure, why not? They're good to eat. So let me show you one more thing. This is the puffer, and this is how I clean puffer. Some people asked about it online. So I'm at my friend Sylvie's house, so I don't have my knives, but I'll usually just take a knife, maybe a sharper one than this, and I'll just cut in the back of the head, and I just want to get through the backbone, and then I will just peel back the skin just a little bit, take a fork, stick it in the back of the fish's, the meaty part of the back, and I'll just pull it. I'll pull it out, and the whole piece of meat comes out in one big piece. Now this is a big puffer, so it's a little tough for me to get the skin off the back here, but you're going to see this whole piece is going to come out. It's going to look like a big shrimp. I mean, that's basically it, and that's it. That's all you have to do. Now the beauty of it is the guts and everything. I didn't have to gut this fish. I didn't have to scale it. Everything's right there in the head. Look. I'll show you. Here it is. Nasty, right? Sorry. So that's it. And then inside that, here we're going to do it again. I just cut a little slit in the back, pull back the skin just a little bit so you can get in there, make sure that piece of meat's going to come out, stick the fork in and pop it out. The beauty of it is that there's really not bones inside a puffer fish. It's really just like a piece of cartilage, just like one big piece of cartilage. So you don't have a bunch of like little of those rib bones I was cutting out of the whiting earlier in the other video. It just, so you can fry these up and you can eat them because you can just, when you fry them up, you can just take out that one piece of cartilage. It just comes out like one big piece. So that's it. I caught one more fish today, and I was so excited because I got another big whiting or another big puffer. I could just tell because he was pulling and pulling and pulling. I really thought it was a big whiting. And of course, you know, when I saw it, you know, it was disappointing because it was another stingray. So that's how I ended my day. That's how I started this video. That's how I'm ending it. Full circle. So hey, get out there. The fish are biting. Get some fresh shrimp. Double drop rig. Nothing fancy. Get out there. Have some fun. Catch some fish.